take a deep breath. Take the Detroit Lions. We look at them and they're like, man, that team is well run now. They have done everything right. Yeah, it's year 4. They went 3-13-1, 9-8, 12-5, and now they're 10-1. And they've done virtually everything right. Steve Sarkisian in college, who's one of the great recruiters, 5-7, 8-5, 12-2, made the college football playoff, and now finally at Texas. Huge brand where you can just get 25 first-round picks every year. Now they're 10-1 and number 3 in the country. That's with Texas. That's what doing everything right in Detroit. That's what success is, and successful people know that. So Harbaugh doesn't let any of the criticism get to him, but Jim Harbaugh's remember all these idiots that were banging on him at Michigan because he couldn't beat Ohio State? You don't take over Brady Hoke's program and on 1 or 2 recruiting classes beat Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State. Maybe Purdue, you can clean the kitchen up, but you still got the driveway, the roof. And so here's what happens with Jim Harbaugh everywhere. He goes in, turns garbage into a pretty nice situation. Not Super Bowl nice, not win a natty nice, but he makes you good. He patches the holes in the boat and makes you as good as you can possibly be. And then he becomes a victim of himself. I mean, all these people banging on him at Michigan. He's trying to beat Ohio State, arguably the second best program in the country in my life. And building a Super Bowl team is hard. You can watch the Chargers last night. They're very good on script in the first half, offensively and defensively. Why? Because that's coaching. Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh. Second half comes down to players. You ever notice this with Philadelphia? Philadelphia is okay in the first half against the Rams. McVay, first half, keeps it close, coaching. But when you go off script and it's mano-a-mano, guy versus guy who's got better dudes, Philadelphia rolls them. Second half, Baltimore rolls them. Chargers need to shore up their interior O-line. They need 2 or 3 more playmakers. Probably need another great corner. And then they can be Baltimore or Detroit or Philly or Kansas City.
Okay, let's talk about this. So Colin's obviously coming in hot, defending Harbaugh. And I'm curious, has Harbaugh been getting a lot of heat this season or after this loss? I haven't personally seen it, so I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Harbaugh and defender of what the Chargers are doing, so I'm very much in a line with pretty much every single thing Colin has said. But Colin feels like he's coming from a place where it's like he's seeing a lot of people criticize the Chargers or Harbaugh. I've definitely seen a lot of people criticize Justin Herbert. People think that he's underrated. Someone gave a whole list of quarterbacks they think that that are better than Herbert. And, oh my God, Dak Prescott was there. Brock Purdy was there. Baker Mayfield was there. I was like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm looking at. If you think all those quarterbacks are better than Justin Herbert, if you think there's more than 10 quarterbacks that are better than Justin Herbert, we'll put that aside. We'll put the insanity of that aside. But I haven't personally seen it. So again, I don't know. I'm honestly asking you all directly. I know the Chargers don't get a lot of media attention, so that's why I'm kind of like, listen, people barely talk about the Chargers. Even when they win big or have completely turned this thing around, it doesn't feel like people they're getting the love and respect that they deserve. So that's why I'm just curious, because he's coming in like very much like, hey, don't you criticize Harbaugh. I do remember him being criticized in Michigan and that whole thing about not being able to beat Ohio State, and Joel Klatt came in and pretty much just kind of decimated that argument of just being like, you really think Harbaugh has not been successful there? Like, you're delusional. And then it was like literally like either that year or the next year, he then obviously wins the national championship. But here's the thing that I think, if anyone's gotten confusing expectations or wants to criticize the Chargers or just doesn't really see the reality of the situation is first off, you got a new coach now. You got a new everything really in terms of the entire coaching staff and the structure of that. You're now trying to instill a new culture, and you kind of have a messy roster that you need to rebuild, that's going to take a minute or two, because Harbaugh needs to go in there and diagnose and figure what you need and don't need, what you can afford to let go. And, like the salary cap, all that stuff was really, really messy. But the problem is that when you're a coach like Harbaugh, who's obviously wildly popular, as well as a quarterback, Herbert, unless you really are confused, he is a top quarterback in the NFL. And so in a way, you need to build the foundation of a team. You need to build the foundation. And when you have a player like Herbert and a coach like Harbaugh, you have the peak, the top, the most beautiful part of the mountain. But yet, you still need to build that foundation. So it gives this illusion of like, well, hey, you got Herbert, you got Harbaugh. Shouldn't that be enough to be able to like get this thing going immediately? And it's like, well, there's a lot of other pieces missing. And that's what you see other great teams when they're building something special. The Patriots, when they put Tom Brady on that team, like they already had the foundation of what needed to be done. The Kansas City Chiefs, they were going to the playoffs, even won a playoff game with Alex Smith. Adding now Mahomes puts even more over the edge, whatever. That's not where the Chargers are. The Chargers are like, hey, we got the quarterback. We don't got the team. We don't got the coach. Like it's actually in a lot of ways kind of like messier, because you do see plenty of teams that are like just a quarterback away or a coach away. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they also added Tom Brady to their roster, right? Like they had that foundation. They had all the pieces. They were just a quarterback away, obviously. And, the rest is history for them. And so that's kind of where they're at with all of this. This Chargers team was a great big mess with an all-time caliber quarterback who was just waiting to have some stability there. If Herbert wasn't the quarterback, I don't know. I doubt Harbaugh's going there. If it was just like I don't even know. I can't even make up a quarterback's name, but like I don't think Harbaugh's going there personally. I mean, because it would be like an even longer process. So having a quarterback like a Herbert not only expedites this process, but it also has the potential to then kind of give this misleading expectations of what can be achieved in year one. And I think what they're doing has been remarkable this year. And this is a tough loss because they actually could have won the division. Actually, they was going to need a little luck. They needed to beat the Chiefs, and then they needed the Chiefs to drop to, say, the Broncos or whatnot, and potentially, based on the whole tiebreaker situation, would maybe need to drop another game. And it would have to be like a bad loss. Now, with this loss, them going 7-4, their chance to win the division is definitely, like, obviously improbable. It's still possible, but they need the Chiefs now to like really drop a bad game, or they need to lose to the Raiders. The Chargers need to win out. The Chargers obviously need to beat the Chiefs. The Broncos definitely need to beat the Chiefs, which, depending on when that game is played, it's going to be very questionable as to like which team actually even needs to win that game, if at all. So it's like, who's even going to be playing? So it's got, the margin of error is so much more significantly smaller. You need the Chiefs again to just start to rip off losses, which seems unlikely. It's definitely possible, but it seems unlikely. And again, I still think the Chargers are set up to be in the playoffs and be in the wild card. But I was kind of looking like, hey, can they shock some people? Can they pull away and actually get the division here? Can they win the division here? And losing to the Ravens definitely kind of hurts their chances, pretty significantly. So to me, it's really just all about the refinement of this team, figuring out what is the ceiling for this season. What are the expectations for them? Can they and actually be a tough out in the playoffs? Can they win a playoff game or two? I think that's what you're going to try to figure out. That's why I want to see, how do the Chargers play the Broncos? How do they play the Chiefs? What does this version of the Chargers look like in December and January in games that you're like, hey, we got to have it now. We got to have it. That's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see if there's any other gears or levers that Harbaugh will be able to pull, or anything else that he's kind of learned through this process, through these first 11, 12 weeks, to be able to be like, okay, I see what we need to do now. I see kind of where our limitations and our liabilities, and maybe it's just like, this is the best we can do right now. That's a very real possibility. That's why he even says, I know what we're building. right? It's what we're building, not what we built. It's a different thing. And so he came in. That's why he drafted the players he drafted and did what he did. He came in saying, I need to build a foundation. We have some nice pieces, but I need to build a foundation, a culture, an understanding. We gotta zero in on the details and let's have at it. And that will bring you significantly farther down the road. Definitely. Not a doubt in my mind. So it's going to be interesting. I've always put them on a 1 to 3 year trajectory. That's what I've said in pretty much all my Chargers videos. I always put them on a 1, 2, 3 year video trajectory. And this season, they even exceeded my expectations. I mean, I thought that they could be a legitimate playoff team, but the way in which they've been going about it, I found very impressive. And considering they don't have all of these playmakers ready to go, and they've been able to, get some of these gritty wins, I've just found very, very, very impressive, which is why I started thinking can they maybe win the division here? It was always going to be a hard thing to be able to do. They were always most likely going to have to win out and have the Chiefs, again, drop a bad game or two. So it was always not going to be the easiest thing to do. But yeah, losing versus the Ravens definitely obviously puts them even further back from that goal. But again, I don't think that was even the goal of this season, quite frankly. That was just kind of is this possible, rather than, hey, if they're really going to be that good or if they really change things around, they better win the division. I never saw it that way. And I think next year is when it's going to be a 3-team race between the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs in terms of winning that division. And I think the Chargers will continue to take giant steps forward each year. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Chargers, Harbaugh, what they're building here, what the ceiling is for this team this year? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.